Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Laughing Place Movie Club. We're going to be talking about the new Ryan Reynolds movie, Free Guy, directed by Sean Levy, made by 20th Century Studios, formerly 20th Century Fox, then acquired by Disney in the big acquisition a couple years ago, and now released under the new name. Let's go around and introduce ourselves and give a brief thought about the film. What did we think overall? I'm Mike, by the way. I reviewed the movie on laughingplace.com and I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty fun, very funny, a little derivative of some stuff that I had seen before, but overall I enjoyed it. It's got a great cast, really good visual effects. Very impressed by the visual effects, but yeah, overall I recommend it. How about you there, Mac?
Yeah, I really liked this movie. Mike, like you said, you wrote our review, and so I saw your actual rating for it. And having a brief conversation with Cole over the weekend, I think I'm the highest on this movie of the three of us. This was probably I took to Twitter immediately and said this is my favorite movie of the year. Granted, that's a pretty low bar to get over. There's not much competition for that, but yeah, no, I really like this movie.
And Cole?
Yes. I also really enjoyed it. Not as high as Mac. I will agree with that. But I did think it was a lot of fun. And I know, like, my friend described it to me the other day as, at this point, The Rock is just a caricature of himself, and he just plays a character of himself. And Ryan Reynolds is kind of getting to that point too, but like you still love it because it's an entertaining caricature. So you're like, okay, I could get behind that.
I do feel like the character of Guy is different enough from Wade Wilson, though.
Yeah.
Like, Wade Wilson's kind of a know-it-all, smart-ass guy, and Guy is like a sweetly naive, kind of like man-child character. So I like the differences there. I think my one big critique, like I mentioned at the top, is that I did notice some similarities to other stuff. I do feel like this movie is mostly like a remake of The Truman Show, but with like video games transposed over it instead of especially at the end when like everybody in the world is like watching him on all the different devices and stuff. That really reminded me of that. But I noticed things from like the Lego movie that were pretty much lifted right from there.
It felt very Lego movie to me.
yeah. And then there was a little bit of Groundhog Day in there when he kept waking up and the day was like repeating itself. Anything else that you guys like jumped out at you that reminded you of other movies?
Yeah, well, I said that this movie is basically Deadpool meets Elf. So like you said, it's like a sweet, naive version of the character, but I think it is very much the same humor that Deadpool goes with. Like he even has those those it's like jokes where I actually wrote these down because I found them so hilarious. And so a couple of them were, it's like he's talking about trying the bubblegum ice cream, and he says, it's like my mouth just had a baby with the sunrise. And when he drinks the coffee, he says, it's like God just washed my tongue right after meeting my father and finally telling him he's good enough. So that's such a like Deadpool type of joke, just like in a cleaner way.
That one made me laugh. I did like that last one.
Yeah, I agree. The Lego movie was the one that really jumped out to me. Like other than Truman Show, because Truman Show is pretty apparent from the start, but like Lego movie, I was like, I have seen the Lego movie quite a few times, and I really am seeing a lot of the same pieces coming together and putting it all into that one picture.
Well said. All the pieces coming together.
It was thought of.
Hang on.
Go ahead,
Mike. There's a comment here I want to bring up because I know your feelings on this franchise here.
I will say Ready Player One. I read the novel before I saw the film a couple years before it came out, and it was probably my least favorite book I've ever read. And And then the Steven Spielberg adaptation, I just thought it was kind of mediocre, actually. So I did not care for Ready Player One at all. The whole. I haven't read Ready Player Two. I probably will never read Ready Player Two, but I definitely enjoyed Free Guy a lot more. How about you?
Love Ready Player One, the book. One of my favorite, arguably my favorite book of all time, actually.
Wow,
complete opposite. But same feelings on the movie. I hated that movie. It wasn't even mediocre to me. It was bad. I got into bad territory because Steven Spielberg was the wrong choice to direct it. I'm not going to go on my Ready Player One rant. It's too long. But definitely preferred Free Guy.
Yeah, Ready Player One couldn't hold my attention for the entire movie, so it's Free Guy and it's not close.
Yeah, I think Free Guy is like legitimately a good movie, despite it's a flawed film, but it's good. I could definitely recommend it without any real hesitation. How about the other members of the cast besides Ryan Reynolds? Anybody jump out to you from that group?
Yeah, Lil Rel has been somebody that has been like just everything he does I find hilarious lately. Like every delivery of every line is just so funny. So I found him really entertaining in this movie.
Has he not played the friend yet, though? Is there a movie where he's not the friend?
He was one of the commentators in Space Jam 2, so that was a slightly different role.
I would like to see him get a leading role.
Yeah, I would too.
Let's hope that happens soon.
I was a little scared they were gonna get out me at the end of that movie. I was like, oh no, like don't do it to me again. I can't handle the fear.
How about the female lead, the love interest? What's the actress's name? Jodie Comer.
Yeah, I liked her a lot. I've never really seen her in anything else. I've never dove. I saw that she was in some other things that I have heard of, but I've never actually
watched.
Killing Eve.
She's Rey's mother.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. She's Rey's mother in The Rise of Skywalker.
So she's a nobody, is what you're telling me.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
She got killed by Ochi of Bestoon. A deep cut Star Wars reference. And then you had, of course, Taika Waititi as the sort of the villain of the piece, the game developer who steals the idea from Steve from Stranger Things.
Yeah, that's all we need to call him.
Well, before we move off of Taika, though, he's another one who just everything he does is hilarious to me now. Yeah. The Albuquerque boiled turkey. That was hilarious. Like, I mean, everything he does is so funny.
Yeah, that line was improvised. Yeah,
like the 45-minute blooper thing that they were talking about. I would like to watch that.
Yeah, so I attended the virtual press conference for Free Guy, and Sean Levy talked about having a 40-minute cut of outtakes of just Taika Waititi improvising. I hope that ends up on the Blu-ray or whatever, hopefully on Disney Plus or something.
Yeah, if that's on the Blu-ray, that alone will get me to buy it for sure.
Kidder pointed out that. Go ahead, Cole. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, if it's on Disney Plus, it's gonna get the best reviews of anything that can. It's just gonna immediately be streamed a million times.
Well, he said he cut it down to like 2 minutes, then to put it on social media. But I don't know if that's.
That's probably because there's like 38 minutes of it that can't be put on social media.
Right. That makes sense.
Kidder pointed out that 21 Laps also produced Night at the Museum, and Sean Levy directed all 3 Night at the Museum movies. Did you guys see any similarities in his style from those films or his other movies? What else did he do? Some other.
He did a lot of Stranger Things. He directed a good amount of the episodes there.
So
that makes sense that Steve got carried over.
Yeah, and then we also had another very small part from another actor from Stranger Things, who's just one of the gamers. Which, I mean, can we talk about how many cameos there are in this movie? Like the cast itself is great. And by the way, one more member of the main cast. I don't know the actor's actual name, but the guy who plays Pache from the Muppets ABC series was in this movie, and I immediately recognized him as Pache, so I thought that was. But this movie is loaded with cameos, and so many that I didn't even realize until going and doing some research afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Oh, now you have to spill the beans, because obviously I spotted the obvious ones, but
what
else was there?
Yeah, I missed some of the smaller ones.
Obvious ones would be like Channing Tatum, and then of course they very much put Chris Evans in the spotlight, which we need to circle back to later. But yes, some of the other ones included The Rock. The Rock voiced a bank robber. Hugh Jackman voices, or he is the guy that Molotov, whatever her name is, meets in the alleyway in the very beginning when we first meet her. That's Hugh Jackman.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Tina Fey is the vacuuming mom.
Oh.
John Krasinski is the gamer that's like silhouetted so you can't see him. So yeah, there's just clearly so many connections in this. And then, I mean, on top of that, all of the famous gamers who I'm not a big gamer, so I'm not familiar with many of them.
I had a feeling we were supposed to recognize those people, but I sure did not.
I was like, that name I think I've seen once in my life that I could never point out who that is, but I've seen that name appear in text before.
Yeah. I recognize Ninja. That's the only one. Like he's probably the gamer in the world as far as I know, because it's the only name I know. So that's the only one I recognize. But also, and I'm curious what the experience was like in the theater for you guys for Alex Trebek.
Oh yeah, that's right. That got a pretty good response at the press screening that I went to. I think people were generally. It seems odd that that's basically going to be his last thing, you know, as the Free Guy cameo. But I think it had a positive response, I think, when I saw it. How about you?
Yeah, there was a very loud, just throughout the theater, and I had probably a half full theater. I was mid-afternoon on a Saturday, and it was just like a loud awe let out throughout the entire theater. So it was a very brief emotional moment.
There was no reaction in my theater. I was there on a Thursday night opening night showing of it.
Wow.
In Los Angeles, no real reaction.
Wow. Interesting.
It's crazy. I thought it was funny that that NPC was getting famous enough to have a answer about him on Jeopardy. I don't know. It seemed like a little incongruous, but it didn't really matter because it was just supposed to be fun.
Yeah, well, this whole movie was definitely just over the top ridiculous. We were seeing news reports of this video game character. I'm pretty sure that we don't really see that very often.
Right.
Well, they don't usually come to life, okay? So
true. That's true.
It's a rare occurrence.
That brings me to a point, actually, because this movie is obviously just a stupid humor, over the top ridiculous, but I thought it actually posed a legitimate philosophical question here, because the whole thing is about AI and the first real functioning AI, and is it ethical to pull the plug on that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have this ongoing debate in my own head about this, because there's a lot of movies and TV shows about AI, and do computers or robots have rights and stuff like that. And I feel like I buy into it in a movie, like in Star Trek Next Generation or whatever, when Data goes on trial and they're trying to prove is Data real, or is he sentient or whatever. I believe it there, but I feel like it hasn't gotten to the point, or it probably won't get to the point in real life where I'll ever consider a AI or a robot to be quote unquote real or have a soul or anything.
Yeah.
Star Wars raises that question from time
I was just going to say,
you're like, whoa.
Yeah, this came up the other day. The droids are sentient in Star Wars, but they're all basically owned by people, so they're slaves. And I mean,
it's real messed up. You got to just not think about it. I thought it was interesting that this is the only movie I have ever seen where AI comes to life and everyone's like, nah, that's cool. Not, we must destroy it or it will destroy us first.
Yeah, there's no fear of this video game becoming Skynet and taking everybody out.
Exactly. I was like, this is kind of refreshing. AI can just, chill in its own little utopia, good for them.
Especially you would assume obviously, this is an online multiplayer game. So, I mean, this thing could go full Ultron at any moment and just get into
whenever it wants to.
So,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say there were some crazy moments in this movie. I'm pretty sure you know what mine was. Did you guys have any specifics that really like stood out?
Well, mine is probably not the equivalent of yours because,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Should we just say spoiler alert or?
I mean, I think at this point, if you haven't seen the movie, yeah, you should probably tune out.
Yeah. So I'm guessing yours is the Marvel one, the Shield.
Yes.
And
yeah,
I don't know. My equivalent would then be the lightsaber. But then when that happened, I was just kind of like, this has been done.
Yeah, and it felt like to me like it kind of fell flat going right after the Shield thing, and so they do the Marvel thing. They hit the Avengers theme, which was awesome, and that like already got me excited. And then Chris Evans shows up for just a second, and I legitimately clapped. Like I could not control myself. I just started clapping in the theater. And
did you read that interview where Ryan Reynolds talked about how that happened?
No, I didn't.
Apparently, like Chris Evans was in the same city shooting something else, and he like texted him, and Chris Evans said, if I can show up for literally 10 minutes and be done, I will do it, but no longer than that. So they like got him in and out of there.
And he absolutely delivered that line perfectly in less than 10 minutes. So a line that I won't repeat on here.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It felt a little... I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit that they went to that well in the end there. And it did give me a little bit of a Ready Player One vibe. It also made me think a little bit of like Scott Pilgrim, which is a movie that I love.
Me too, that's my favorite movie.
Oh,
We're talking about all my favorite things, my favorite book and my favorite movie in the same show.
I am in the minority on the LP team, having not seen Scott Pilgrim. And I believe me, I know Kyle gives me a hard time about it all the time, so it's on my list.
That movie, I don't know. It's just perfect to me. I don't know. And I've read the graphic novels and didn't love them either, but I just thought that it's a great adaptation and a even better like video game inspired movie to me.
Yeah, I think it was a little out of place to have that like kind of, I guess, like Marvel and Lucasfilm cameo in a way, at the end, just because there was nothing building to it. If we had seen other pieces of just like, maybe someone using like a Star Wars blaster earlier in the movie or something like that. She did use
the portal gun. I think that was the earliest one.
Well, see, I think this connects to Fortnite and how often Fortnite just pulls in different pop culture things. Yeah. And I think they were really just playing off of that. And I mean, Channing Tatum did even do the what he called the Thanos glove. Before that, so so I mean, I think they were playing off of the pop, like probably the most popular game going right now.
Yeah,
I think the reason it bugged me a little bit was because they made that whole point earlier about how having something original is better than having a sequel, which now, of course, they've greenlit the sequel to Free Guy, and it feels even more hypocritical. But yeah, I mean, the villain was arguing that original things are dumb and we need to, bank on sequels exclusively.
Do you think that was a real argument between Chapek and Bob Iger? Just like they just were like, you know what, we're writing it down.
I do see a lot of similarities between Chapek and Dude. So
certainly in their speech patterns. Okay.
I almost spit take.
This is we should take this down.
I was strictly talking physical build. That's all I was saying, Mr. Chapek. That was Mike took it in a different direction.
You don't sound like a robot every time you speak. Anyway, enough bashing of the CEO. What else about Free Guy? The video games themselves. Obviously, Free City is inspired by like a Grand Theft Auto type thing. But what about the other one? Is that something you guys think you would want to play? The one that ended up being the game at the end?
I was still a little confused as to what the game actually was, where you kind of just, I guess, watch these NPCs live.
That's literally what the game is.
Kind of like The Sims, I guess, but like more realistic with them adapting and growing and stuff. But Yeah,
it's The Sims, but you get no choice. They make the choices.
Yeah, it seemed odd to me. It's really more of like an immersive theater type thing.
Yeah.
Than a video game. Reminded me of something like Sleep No More or whatever, which I haven't done, but I've heard great things about. But yeah, if you're just like watching them, I don't know if that really counts as a video game.
Yeah, it seems like something you would kind of need VR for. Like,
Yeah,
I think
that
it'd be
would
a
be
cool type of VR experience. Whereas if you were just like watching on a computer screen, it would not be that thrilling of a experience to embark it. Especially when, as soon as she puts the headphones on every time, it's like she's transported into the world. And then you're thinking about it, you're like, nah, she's just staring at a computer screen and just like hitting some keys. But you know, like at least in Ready Player One, they're like transported in.
To be fair, they did some funny stuff with that, like when they had their first kiss and it cuts out to her just watching the screen.
Yes.
It worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
The other thing I kind of wanted to highlight was the visual effects, which I was really impressed by, especially like there's that scene where like the city street lifts up and they go up that ramp. And I was thinking like this stuff looks more real and it's supposed to be inside this video game, but it looked more real to me than anything I saw in the Jungle Cruise. So I just kept thinking like this is such terrible CGI. So it's still possible to do like realistic looking CGI effects, which gave me a lot of pleasure to know that that's
well, Jungle Cruise had to use 1920s visual effects to keep with periods. So then Free Guy could use modern day. So that's how it worked out.
I guess.
Yeah, no, you're right though. It was visually beautiful. Like they did a lot of really awesome stuff in this movie.
Yeah, it was so seamless. There was no point where I was like, oof, that's rough right there. Like everything, because I think it found that right balance between just video gamey enough and just real enough to kind of make anything that could be more like suspect be like, oh, that's just a video game. You know, like, so your brain kind of doesn't even think about it. You're just like, oh, that makes sense to me. I get it. Like,
Mike, I had a question for you.
Sure.
Given that, you know, I'm the Marvel guy, you're the Star Wars guy. So much of the media we consume is in these giant franchises where, I mean, we complain about this all the time. Nothing is kept a secret. Like we hear about a character that's going to show up in a movie, you know, 3 movies down the line. Was it refreshing for you? Because I found it to be refreshing that there were so many surprises in this movie. Because if this was a Marvel movie, I 100% would have heard that Chris Evans was in it, that Hugh Jackman was in it, that The Rock was in it.
Well, I mean, I didn't know that Hugh Jackman or The Rock was in it until you told me. So I don't know if those count as like cameos, because it's like, as a casual viewer, would you really pick up? It's kind of like Daniel Craig in The Force Awakens. He's one of the stormtroopers, but you probably wouldn't know that unless somebody told you. But yes, the Chris Evans thing. Yeah. The Chris Evans thing was definitely a surprise, a fun surprise. But other than that, I kind of found myself wishing that I hadn't watched any of the trailers, because even like, what's the big beefy Ryan Reynolds guy's name? Dude. Even like that had been spoiled for me, which is like pretty late in the movie. And I kind of wished that I hadn't seen that trailer where he's like, they do like the behind the scenes thing of him talking about, I don't know, it's like Ryan Reynolds talking about how he beefed up in like a week or whatever to play that role. Have you seen that? Yeah, I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I kind of wished that there were more things that had been kept secret. I don't know.
That's funny because I typically feel that way about just about every movie I see, and I didn't really get that with this movie as much. I thought there were so many of the jokes that I like legitimately laughed out loud at that I didn't see in any of the trailers or anything beforehand. And I agree that Dude, I thought should have been kept under wraps probably, but I was definitely surprised by more in this movie than anything I've seen recently.
I was surprised by a lot, but I also stop watching trailers usually after the first trailer that comes out. So, because I hate having those things put for me, so I just put it away. I say, nope, not watching that anymore. I don't want to see anything that could get me there. So I find it makes it more enjoyable, and it did for this because I didn't see Dude before it came out. So that was a nice little surprise for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
We don't all have the luxury of just ignoring all of these trailers, Cole.
I show up to the movie theaters with 2 trailers left and then stare at my phone until the movie starts.
I have a friend, my friend Christian. If we go to a movie and a trailer comes up that's for something that he wants to see, like even Star Wars or like a Batman movie or something, he'll like cover his ears and go like this so he doesn't want to know anything about it. And I really admire that and wish that I could do the same.
I know. I wish I could do that too. But every time I see a new trailer has come out especially the one to me that still stands out in my mind was, oh man, The Last Jedi. There was a trailer for The Last Jedi that just blew me away, and I was like, this could be the movie. I would have been happy with that. And so like the next time they were releasing a trailer, I was like, I need to watch every second of this multiple times. So yeah, I definitely am in that camp. I can't ignore them.
Yeah, I mean, trailers are definitely like an art form unto themselves, and
Yeah.
there are some trailers that have come out in the last 20, 25 years that I like more than the movies.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
including some Star Wars ones. And I remember like the trailer for Zack Snyder's Watchmen was awesome. And I actually was working in a movie theater at the time, and we would throw the trailers away when we were done with them, or like recycle them or whatever. But I kept it. I have it in a box somewhere, the actual film.
That's awesome.
35 millimeter trailer of Watchmen, because I loved it so much. But
man, we're really gonna have to delete this episode. First we bash the CEO, then we're hearing about Mike's transgressions. Wow, it's all going downhill now.
Yeah, anything else about Free Guy? I'm trying to think of what we haven't talked about.
I mean, I think the whole cast was fantastic. We didn't really get to dig into Joe Keery and Jodie Comer and them sort of being they were both still hilarious in their own ways, but they were really like the heart of this movie and played like the straight characters. I thought they were great. I mean, it's hard because the hook of this movie is really just how funny and wacky Ryan Reynolds can be. And yet you have to kind of create this through line of like a real heartfelt story. And I thought they nailed it.
Yeah, I thought it was clever. I thought it was clever making the love story seem like it was between her and Ryan Reynolds, but really being between her and Joe Keery. The way that they did with him being Joe Keery basically was like a perfectly executed way of doing a romance.
Yeah,
I really like that a lot too. I think a lesser movie would have like found a way to bring Guy into the real world or something. But yeah, I think that line where he was like, "I'm basically a love letter to you," that got me. Like I was like, "Yeah, that's perfect."
So I mean, you set me up. I will admit, I'm a big softie with movies these days. I don't know what it is, but like, yeah. I mean, I didn't outright cry in this movie, but I got choked up a couple times.
Sure.
Yeah, that was deep. I also like that she had just kept watching the video where he was trying to explain things to her for literally 15 more seconds. Would have saved like the whole end of the movie. I'm like,
yeah,
because he was like about to say it in that video, and then she's like, "Gotta go."
So now that we know there is likely going to be a Free Guy sequel, what would you guys want to see in that?
I don't want to see it.
It's funny because I loved this movie, and yet I don't think it's something that needs a sequel at all. And I've been kind of racking my brain since I saw that they were going to make a sequel about what they would even do with this. I'm really not sure.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you'd have to go in kind of a Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
Which is another movie that's kind of like reminiscent of, but I don't know. You gotta take a totally different approach and give Guy another arc. I don't know what else is left to do with that character.
He's got to find his love. He still has it.
Yeah,
he only has his friend.
That is true.
And maybe they do introduce VR in this next one, and that adds a new wrinkle to the story.
Yeah. Then she can kiss him for reals.
That might make things a little weird. I'm not sure where we're going with that.
Yeah, so I think consensus here is that we all enjoyed the film. I'll recommend it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Absolutely. I am probably going with my wife to see it a second time. So.
Oh, great. I would watch it again. I'll probably wait for it to come to either Disney Plus or Hulu, wherever it ends up. But
Yeah, that brings me to a question I wanted to ask you, because this was the first movie I've seen in a theater in quite a while. I mean, first time, it feels like first time in a long time that there's been a big release that wasn't also on some streaming service. What do you guys think about the whole theater versus streaming experience?
I wanted to talk about this with you because I saw your tweet.
Yeah.
And I've had very similar thoughts in recent years. Going to the movies was my absolute favorite thing growing up. Like, I would rather be in a movie theater than anywhere else in the world. And since the invention of this thing, that has completely turned around for me. I would much rather sit at home with my nice big screen TV and stereo system and watch a movie and not have any distractions.
Yep.
I wish there were a theater. I mean, there's like Alamo Drafthouse, which is kind of like verging on what I would want to see, where they're pretty strict about no texting or whatever. But at the same time, there's like waiters walking around taking your orders. Like, okay, I just want a distraction-free environment. Where I used to work at the ArcLight Hollywood was kind of like that too, but wasn't really enforced as much as I would like. I had some experiences where I had to say something to people, and I always feel like super guilty about it, and I don't know, it just becomes.
I feel no guilt. I will tell people, turn your phone off or stop talking.
Okay.
I'm happy to do it. In fact, it gives me joy.
One of my friends used to get a soda, and anytime he saw somebody on their phone, he would just throw ice at them, which is another way.
That's probably escalating the situation just a bit.
I also love the theatrical experience, but like still love it to this day. But to be fair, I'm also a bit of a snob. So I have my AMC A-list, so I like always see movies in the Dolby theater. And I will say people are generally better behaved in a Dolby than they are in other theaters. I think just because it's a little more expensive. So like you get people who are like, oh, I paid the money to go see this movie. That's like, because here it's, I think, like $24 a ticket to see a movie in the Dolby. So like if you're paying that much, you generally have a little higher level of kind of respect for the movie of like, oh, we're here, we're kind of taking in the full experience. And I mean, the Dolby is kind of the way to go. You get the recliner seats, the sound is fantastic, the picture quality is fantastic. So like I love it. I go at least once a week, maybe more sometimes. So like for me, I would be sad to see it truly fade away.
Yeah. I would just like to see better enforcement of the standards, both in presentation and in like guest guidelines or whatever. That's really my only thing. At that point, I would be happy to go more often. I'm also very lazy, so just walking in my living room and having it at my fingertips is very appealing to me. But
I totally agree. And Cole, you mentioned a $24 ticket. Just for $6 more, you can basically buy the movie on Disney Plus. So, and then watch it as much as you want.
Oh, but I usually am only going to watch the movie once, and then I like to see things on the biggest possible screen.
Yeah,
that's my goal.
Yeah, I'll say that we have an HBO Max subscription, but when Suicide Squad came out, my wife and I decided we want to support James Gunn, and we paid to see it at Grauman's Chinese Theater, which I had not been inside for at least 5 years, and I'd missed it. It's a really, it's a part of Hollywood history, obviously.
Sure.
And they renovated the whole thing like maybe a decade ago, put in the Dolby Atmos and IMAX screen and everything. And we had a great experience watching Suicide Squad. So it's encouraging me a little bit more. Ghostbusters I want to see when that comes out in the theater. And there's a couple other things too. So I will be returning to the theater.
Oh, yeah, I will too, 100%. I'm never going to actually be able to stop going to the movie theater, but if you give me the option, I'm probably going to take streaming at home whenever I can.
Cool. Anything else we want to say about Free Guy?
I'm looking forward to watching it again.
Cool.
I was a fan. I thought it was a great time. I don't know if I'll watch it again. At some point, probably like years down the line, but I also rarely rewatch movies. So like it's nothing against the movie. It's just more that I like to watch new things.
There's other stuff out there. I'm with you on that too. All right. Well, thanks, guys, for joining me here for the Laughing Place Movie Club, and anybody out there who watched. What else is coming up on Laughing Place? Tomorrow I'm at Disneyland. I don't know if I'm streaming, but check back for that.
That is a good question. Stall for me for like 30 seconds while I bring up our schedule here.
Wow, Mike, look at all your toys. They are so cool looking.
Look at
Where
the many
did you
thousands
get
of
them?
dollars I've flushed down the toilet over the years.
Is that a sentient droid behind you? Does R2D2 have rights? We would
I thought
all
you
like
meant
to know. Both of them. Do they have rights? I don't know.
I've had the schedule pulled up for a while, but I just wanted you to keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have Mike at Disneyland tomorrow. We also have Barely Necessities tomorrow with the Rebeccas. I can't really share anything about this tomorrow, but I am getting to see Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, so I'm really excited for that. And then Kyle and I have a new episode of Zacks of Life that just went up today, so you check that out as well.
Gotta go vote.
Great. And go vote. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
My name is Mike. That's another Mike Mack. And then below me is Cole. And we're from laughingplace.com. See you all soon.